Hello, I'm Angela, and I'd like to share my journey, which has been shaped by the challenges I've faced with my in-laws and husband. As I navigate the process of divorce, I believe my experiences may resonate with anyone dealing with unwarranted criticism from in-laws. My husband, Dylan, and I first connected on a dating site. At the time, I was a 21-year-old college student, while Dylan was 27 and well-established in his career. Despite our age difference, we fell in love, and I never judged him for his age. Unfortunately, Dylan struggled with insecurities about our relationship, often questioning why I chose him over someone closer to my age. "I don't get it, Angela. I'm much older than you. You could find someone better," he would say. I would respond firmly, "Sure, I could, but I don't want to. I love you for who you are." Yet, he remained unconvinced, revealing deep-seated issues with self-esteem and doubting the authenticity of my feelings. In an effort to reassure him, I consistently demonstrated my love. I refused to let him spend money on me. Despite my own financial independence as a college student, I worked part-time jobs, treated him to gifts, and always paid for my own meals. However, my efforts seemed futile as his insecurities persisted, and he struggled to accept my love. For the first 3 years, I couldn't grasp why he held such a negative view of himself until I met his parents. Dylan's father, William, was a hard worker who had once won the lottery, dramatically changing their lives. They bought an expensive house and secured their future, but with this newfound wealth came an air of superiority. During our first meeting, William boasted, "Not everyone can make it big like me. I worked hard, and winning the lottery on my first try is no small feat. Dylan graduated, but he'll never have the kind of money we do." Before the lottery, he struggled to get a girlfriend. Most of them were just after my money. His comments were infuriating and belittling, especially the insinuation that I was just another gold digger. Listening to William and Shirley's disparaging remarks about Dylan was humiliating. Over time, these comments began to affect him, feeding into his insecurities. It was painful to see him internalize their judgments. Feeling the need to defend both Dylan and myself, I politely disagreed, pointing out his hard work and potential for future success. Yet the conversation spiraled negatively when someone suggested that women were only interested in Dylan for his wealth. I clarified that our finances were shared, emphasizing that my love for him was genuine and not financially motivated. In an attempt to lighten the mood, I acknowledged that it can be tough to accept others' successes and material comforts, but my frustration with William and Shirley's comments continued to grow. Dylan, aware of the tension, remained silent, allowing the negativity to linger. Afterward, I confronted him about his parents' behavior, expressing my disappointment in his lack of defense. He explained that he had faced exploitation from people looking to take advantage of his money in the past. He argued that just because some women were gold diggers didn't mean I was one too. He also pointed out that my lack of parental support made our situation appear unusual, implying that I relied solely on his inheritance. "Dylan, what you're saying doesn't make sense. I've never asked you for money, and my financial situation doesn't mean I'm after your wealth," I insisted. Despite my attempts to make him see my perspective, he continued to dismiss my concerns, reiterating his love for me. While many might find comfort in that, it troubled me. I didn't want him to view me in a negative light. I suggested couples therapy, hoping it would help him confront his insecurities, but he insisted he was fine. Frustrated, I eventually distanced myself from his family. As time passed, we decided to get married shortly after I graduated from college. My job wasn't high-paying, but I managed to save enough for our wedding. We shared the costs equally and exchanged vows when I was 24. However, the next 4 years proved to be challenging. Dylan frequently visited his parents, and he always returned in a sour mood. Despite my encouragement for him to limit his interactions with them, he remained unresponsive, allowing their mocking remarks to linger in his mind. After years of trying to prove my love, everything came to a head on Dylan's birthday. We had a small celebration at home, and I surprised him with a beautiful watch he had been coveting. While he was thrilled with the gift, my happiness quickly faded when he insisted on showing it off at his parents' house. Once we arrived, Dylan eagerly approached Shirley and William, proudly displaying the watch. "Mom, Dad, look at this gorgeous watch Angela got me. I've wanted it for so long. Isn't it beautiful?" "Oh, did she notice the resemblance between you two? Love can be confusing," Shirley sneered. "We were a bit worried for a while. Just be careful, William. She's probably only interested in your money. She married our son because of that $350,000 house. Let's not forget the facts, William added. Exactly, Shirley chimed in. I almost forgot that the house is the only reason Angela married Dylan. I felt a wave of anger rise within me. Excuse me, why do you think I married your son? For your house? You were living in an apartment after working for 5 years. Plus, Dylan is much older than me. Why else would I marry him unless I wanted something from him? I'm sure your house was an attraction, if not his money. I chose to be with your son because I love him. Whatever you think about my intentions, Dylan knows the truth, and he'll back me up. Isn't that right, Dylan? To my shock, Dylan remained silent, his gaze fixed on the ground, avoiding eye contact. My heart sank as I realized he wasn't defending me. Why the silence? I asked, my voice trembling. Your parents have always believed I'm a gold digger. How can they understand who I am if you don't set the record straight? Why are you quiet? Let them know they have the wrong idea. Angela, I'm not sure what you want me to say. I can't confirm if my parents are mistaken. There's a chance you might be interested in this house. Are you serious, Dylan? Do you really think I married you for your possessions? That's so unfair to assume, and it's concerning that you never considered buying a house. We never talked about it. If you're renting, shouldn't getting a house be a top priority? Of course, but it's also about your priorities, and you chose not to commit to a home. You know our house comes with a hefty price tag, well beyond your financial reach, even with your best efforts. Instead, you decided to marry Dylan and build a life here, and that choice seems more rational to me. Angela, why would you choose to marry me? Dylan's words struck me like a bolt of lightning. While I know you care for me, it feels like there's a deeper motive behind your love. His revelation left me speechless. All the love I had for him suddenly felt worthless. It seemed that both my in-laws and even Dylan now viewed me as someone solely interested in his wealth. While their reactions stung, it was Dylan's response that truly devastated me. In that moment, I made a life-altering decision: would file for divorce. I chose to keep my intentions to myself, waiting for the right moment. After we returned home, I contacted a lawyer to initiate the proceedings. The lawyer assured me the necessary documents would be ready within a week. During this time, I moved into a separate room, and Dylan assumed I was simply venting my frustrations, unaware of the impending change. When the divorce papers arrived at my parents' house, I packed my belongings and prepared to leave. Dylan called in a panic, and I instructed him to come to a specific address, my parents' home, which he had never visited before, along with my in-laws. He seemed confused but agreed. As they arrived, I waited for them on the porch, and their expressions revealed their astonishment at the house. With a smile, I said, I bet you're wondering why I brought you here. It's a stunning house, isn't it? No one can compare their home to this. It must cost a fortune, easily in the millions. This mansion is valued at around $3.5 million today. Quite pricey, but worth every penny, especially with the luxurious furnishings. Angela, what's the story behind this place? I can't understand how you have access to such an extravagant home, William asked, bewildered. Come on in, it's a bit much to explain everything on the porch. By the way, what did you mean by your? I brushed off the question as I walked inside, with them trailing behind. Once indoors, their amazement grew. It was clear that the homeowners had spared no expense. After we settled down, I took a deep breath and said, I've called you here for a reason. I've filed for divorce, and here are the papers. We can pursue an uncontested divorce if you're willing. Their expressions turned puzzled. Why are you filing for divorce? One of them asked. Because you and your family believe I'm a gold digger, aiming for your house. That's not true, but you won't listen, Dylan protested. To spare us from your so-called gold digging, you're choosing to divorce me? That's ridiculous. I see this as a positive step, Dylan. If you think so little of me, you should sign the papers. You deserve to find someone who truly loves you. Turning to his parents, I added, why did you bring us to this house? Are you expecting me to include it in the divorce settlement? Their surprise was palpable. Why would I want to buy this house when it's already mine? I declared confidently. Shock and disbelief washed over them, as if my words had detonated in their minds. Dylan frowned. How on earth can you afford a house like this? You're just renting, and your job isn't good enough to cover this. Don't lie to us. Dylan, let me clarify. I didn't lie. Remember when I mentioned my parents left me an inheritance? This house is part of it and is currently held in a trust. But here's the catch, I won't receive it until I turn 33. I don't have a typical job because I have a trust fund waiting for me. Impossible. Your parents passed away years ago. Why didn't they give you the house earlier? My parents were concerned about people taking advantage of me. They advised me to keep quiet about the house and the trust fund. Everything is secured in a trust until I turn 33. I want someone who genuinely cares about me, not just for what I might inherit. Wow, Angela, it's surprising to learn about your wealth. We had no idea. This house is massive. We could all enjoy a comfortable life here. It would have been helpful if you'd shared this earlier, we were worried you might have hidden motives. Clear communication could have prevented all these misunderstandings. I always believed Angela was the right match for Dylan. I've been saying she's an incredible person. Now that we see her wealth, it's evident Dylan found an excellent partner. Their perception of me shifted so quickly that it felt like a whirlwind. Yet, what struck me as peculiar was how they seemed to overlook the fact that I had initiated divorce proceedings. I pulled out the signed divorce papers and said, as I mentioned, here's my signature for an uncontested divorce. You can sign these to make it easy. If you want to contest it, we can go to court. I won't continue living with you, Angela. Please understand there's no need to rush this. You've shown you're not motivated by money. There's no longer a valid reason for a divorce. We can even apologize for any misunderstandings. That would improve everything, wouldn't it? Yes, William is right. We're sorry, Angela. We wrongly questioned your intentions. Dylan, your apologies don't feel sincere to me. For the past 3 years, your family has criticized me, accusing me of wanting your wealth. I hoped you would stand by me, but instead, you joined them in labeling me. I can't stay with someone who disrespects their spouse. I've made my decision to end our relationship. We can part on good terms, or we can go through legal proceedings, the choice is yours. Dylan, Shirley, and William made earnest attempts to persuade me to move past the hurt, pleading for my forgiveness. To them, it was merely a minor misunderstanding. Yet, not once did they acknowledge or apologize for the damage they had done to my reputation. When I finally reached my breaking point, I demanded they leave, threatening to involve law enforcement if they didn't. My anger clearly intimidated them. In the weeks that followed, Dylan and my in-laws persisted in their efforts to win me back. They begged, offered incentives, and hoped for a change of heart on my part. Their actions suggested they believed I was solely motivated by money, which only fueled my resentment. Ironically, as a co-owner of the house, I was entitled to half of it, which heightened their desperation for reconciliation. Despite their relentless attempts, I remained resolute in my decision. I moved my belongings to my parents' house, fully aware of my entitlement to half of Dylan's share. My determination remained unshaken, even though I had not yet officially claimed ownership of the house. Dylan and his family continued to reach out, pushing me to reconsider until I finally changed my phone number to escape their persistent communication. Dylan even showed up at my workplace, but security quickly intervened and asked him to leave, as I had no interest in engaging with him. Nearly a year has passed since I filed for divorce, and I'm nearing the end of the process. Regardless of Dylan's objections, the courts will make the final decision. I'm doing well on my own, content and financially secure. I even go on casual dates, keeping things light and uncomplicated. Dylan's cousin mentioned the difficulties he faced in trying to buy out my rightful share, as Dylan actively promotes the sale of the house, harboring resentment toward his parents for the chaos in his life. Honestly, I no longer care, my only goal is to free myself from that toxic familial connection.